There he goes. Off on his first solo.
Set markers ground, Skyhawk 4865 Delta is at Blackhound with the ATIS student pilot first solo. As a student pilot, one of the most exciting milestones that you're ever going to experience is your first solo flight. And here's why. The first 10, 20, or even 30 hours you're flying is typically with an instructor. So in the case you do something that, let's say, puts you in danger, you have your instructor to just take the controls. But when you're doing your solo flight, it's just you in a plane. And in my opinion and my experience talking to all these different pilots, different instructors, they always say that the first solo flight will teach you more than all of your lessons combined. So in this video, I actually want to watch my first solo flight that my creative director recorded and posted. And I just want to walk you through everything that I've learned on the slide, because I did make a mistake. I almost got, I don't want to say lost, but I almost got to some bad things. Were you listening?
Yeah, I was listening to everything.
He switches the runway and I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, let me just go up and oh my God, I was so and just share with you guys what the process was like, because everybody has a unique story. Hopefully when you do your solo flight, you don't experience anything, but for me, this is what happened. So with that said, let's go to the computer and get straight into it. Set markers ground, Skyhawk 4865 Delta. So just so you understand, the process for me when I did my first solo is obviously my instructor was there. We got into the plane, we did the checklist, our pre-flight, we got on the plane and we did about 3 or 4 laps in the pattern. Make sure takeoffs are good, I don't stall my takeoff, make sure landings are good and smooth and safe. And then from there, you taxi back to the ramp. He gets out of the plane, the engine is still running. And then you taxi back out to the runway and you take off, right? Like I didn't have to shut it down. We didn't have to do a run up again, made sure everything was good. And then we went back up. Okay. So, when it comes to your first solo, at least, I don't think you just go get your plane and you go fly. You typically have to make your instructor sign off. You get your logbook endorsement and then you go. Also is at Blackhound, with, the ATIS, student pilot first solo.
Guy 46,000 is information Juliet train. Runway 17 taxi by Alpha Juliet, cross 8, hold short of runway 13.
We'll get Juliet, taxi is 17 via Alpha Juliet, cross runway 8, hold short of 13 for 65 Delta.
06, you're at 6, visibility on 0 sky conditions, scattered, 9,500, temperature true 5, 2.13, altimeter setting 299. Visual approaching you, flight departing runway 17, no serving, use caution for bird activity, vicinity. Good star, information Juliet, time 22560, wind. 06, you're at 6, visibility on 0 sky conditions, scattered, 9,500, temperature true 5, 2.13, altimeter setting 2996. Visual approaching you, slang.
2996. Cool. 2996. Okay, cool. Go left, clear forward, clear rights. Go Alpha Juliet. As I'm taxiing out, I still remember this very well. I was very, very nervous. I know, like, mentally, I know I can fly the plane. I know I can land the plane safely. It's just the feeling of not having an instructor on your side is almost surreal. So me taxiing out, lining up on the runway, I was very nervous. My heart was beating very, very fast. But as soon as you're up in the air, it's like you really forget about it, and all the nerves just go away. Got the doors closed. Alpha Tree. Cool. Okie dokie, wow. Sun's my way. That Alpha Juliet, I think he said. Alright, just one more time.
No craft approaches in the Austin airspace. San Marcos Towers at critical stopping levels. Expect pattern restrictions and or delays. Advise not to activate information Juliet. This tower is information Juliet. Time 22562. Wind 060 at 6. Visibility on 0 sky conditions. Scattered. 9,500. Temperature 35. 2.1 tree. Altimeter setting 2996. Visual approach and use. Landing departing runway 17. Minutes. Use caution for
0. Fuck. Okay, there's a bit of a crosswind then.
Just watching this again, I noticed myself taxiing very, very fast. Normally, you should not be taxiing more than 10 to 15 knots ground speed. I'm probably going like 20, 25 here. And luckily, the traffic controllers did not yell at me because normally they would. So that's one thing I would do. But I'm just so nervous and I just want to get up in the air so bad that taxiing for me was one of the scariest parts, funny enough.
Runway 8, hold short of 13.
Another thing that I'm watching myself, I should have done is there should have been a crosswind correction. So, you put your ailerons into the wind. That way you don't get blown over. So that's, watching right now, something that I should have done that I didn't. It's on the checklist, but.
Approaching runway 8. Final looks clear. Way clear. We do not need to do a run-up because...
Skyhawk 330, make right traffic this time.
There's a little bit better at least. That's good. Quick taxi down. He said we could do 2 or 3 touch and goes. We'll stop and goes. I'll do touch and goes. I like touch. Where's my water? Shit, where's my water?
So here's a hack that works really well for me that I didn't do in my first few hours. As simple as it sounds, stay hydrated when you're in the plane because as a private pilot student, you're doing a lot of maneuvers. So like steep turns, power on, power off stalls, turns around a point, S turns, things like that. And you're going to realize quickly because it's going to mess up with your head. So for me, the trick to staying attentive and staying alert when I'm flying is staying hydrated, right? So I typically bring a water bottle with liquid IVs or something that's ice cold. And if I ever feel a little drowsy, a little tired, I just drink that. So it's simple. That's something that I didn't do before. So staying hydrated before I get to the airport and during my flight is extremely, extremely important. When you're doing cross countries, it's pretty chill. You just climb up, reach your altitude and, slap on the autopilot and you're good. Just talk a little bit here and there. But when you're doing maneuvers, bring water or else you're going to get very tired. There have been flights where halfway in, I'm just dead and my brain cannot function. So I'll just hey man, can we just go back? So stay hydrated, make sure you sleep well before your flights.
Ground number 458, Tango Charlie at Ferry with Julia for taxi. Request runway 8. Hey, Tango Charlie, runway 8, taxi down. Alpha Dave, runway 8, 458.
Something that I learned, if you just heard what that other plane that called in at General Aviation is, it's a jet. So even though we're taking runway 17, when they're a jet, they can take the other runways, right? Like the wind, they don't have to fly into the wind because it's not as important for them. Plus, runway 8's a lot closer than runway 17, so they just want to get up in the air as soon as possible. So that's something that I learned.
Flaps, carbs, begin, taxi. Oh shit, what is that? You're approaching way 13. San Marcos ground, Skyhawk 4865 Delta's holding short runway 13.
65 Delta, cross 13.
Cross 13, 65 Delta. Here we are, clear to cross. No, looks good. Runway looks
maximum
good.
contact, Austin, departure, good day. Number 458, Tango Charlie, San Marcos Tower, roger, waiting release.
Lots and lots of deep breaths. This is not a problem at all. Oh, we're going too fast. just hope he just left closed traffic. So I can actually, well, I guess I can see now because, fuck, gone. Oh, polar power.
Sky 330, extend downwind for departure, all clear base.
And, oh, we left this thing in front of me, so, dang.
Hotel San Marcos Tower, report midfield, left downwind, runway 17.
One thing we don't want to do is stall on takeoff, so we gotta watch our airspeed. Hottish.
8 Tango Charlie, fly runway heading, runway 8, clear takeoff.
We got this. Is done. We're 100 takes off. We'll switch over to tower. Let's do our before landing or before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist. We'll let them know. 1200 on the transponder. Make sure it's full rich. Car heat is in. Lights as required. We'll turn beacon that off. Okay, cool. So anything not an emergency, we'll take it off.
330 base approved, runway 17 clear, touching out in low traffic.
We have a engine failure, we'll stand back on the runway. If we have an engine failure in flight, we will depart and
say again, line clearance, San Marcos Tower 7330. 330, runway 17 clear, touching out in left traffic. Touching out in left traffic, 7330.
San Marcos Tower 65 Deltas, holding short, runway 17, ready for takeoff. Students 11.
8 Tango Charlie, contact Austin, departure, good day. Departure, good day, 8 Tango Charlie. 465 Delta, San Marcos Tower, runway 17, clear for takeoff, fly upwind, all clear crossing.
17 clear for takeoff, continue upwind, you'll call our crosswind, 65.
Oh, whoops.
Wind, all clear crossing.
17 clear for takeoff, continue upwind, you'll call our crosswind, 65 Johnson. On his first, let's do it. Be nice to me. Challenging me already? Okay, I got this. Take off, you can't fucking take off. Nah, it's missing. We got this, cool. And there's center line. It's on the ground. And take off. Take off power set. Airspeed's alive. Looking for 55.
Whenever I'm on my takeoff, I typically like to do call-outs. For example, make sure your heels are on the ground. That way you don't slam the brakes on takeoff. That's not going to be good. You take off, power set, make sure it's all the way in. Make sure your airspeed's alive. That way for example, that you're actually getting airspeed. And then make sure your gauges are great. Gauges I more so refer to as the engine gauges. There's nothing that's at a spike or not normal, right? If there's anything that's not normal, I'll just, and I still have not rotated, I'll just pull power and, brake back and taxi back to the hangars. If I have, for example, an engine failure on rotation, so as I'm lifting off and all of a sudden my engine cuts out, I'll just try to land back on the runway. And if there is no remaining runway left, typically you can land within 30 degrees left or right or ahead of your airport, or of the runway. So that's typically why I do live callouts, because it just internalizes it and becomes a natural habit.
5, rotate. There's about the brake. There we go, 74. Smoke to the fucking skies. Not that bad.
I'm going to change the speed now.
Approaching altitude.
One of the biggest things I've learned is on takeoff, especially as you're climbing, is to obviously focus on your airspeed. I know that in my plane, VY, or best rate of climb over a certain amount of time, is 74, which is typically what I climb out at. And if you pitch too much, obviously you're going to stall, and stalling on takeoff is definitely not going to be fun. So making sure to monitor my airspeed throughout the climb is very important, because we want everything to be smooth and safe, right? Something that I but some things that I used to struggle with is banking too much, especially when you're in the pattern, because if you bank like 30, 40 degrees, that's not safe, especially if you're on the downwind or base to final. That's where most stalls and spins happen. So making sure you're coordinated throughout the turn, that way you're not losing altitude, and focusing on your airspeed is how you make sure you have a safe flight. So, yeah, so make sure that you don't bank too much. You're not in Top Gun. So typically no more than 20 degrees bank, especially when you're in the pattern.
So there's a
Marcus Tower, Skyhawk 7220, would you like this left pattern? Affirmative, left traffic, you're following Skyhawk just off your left in the dock. Alright, left traffic and following the traffic 7220.
seatbelts. Fuel selector, flaps are up, make sure set power is good, and landing lights are good.
So when you're in the midfield, downwind, or when you're preparing for land, my typical before landing checklist is a backward 7, right? So if you think of a backward 7, I always start at the bottom, I go to the right and then to the left, right? And I learned this from a Cirrus instructor, because one of the first flight schools that I was testing out when I first got here to Austin was a Cirrus school. Only issue is they're very expensive, right? Like, I'm not trying to pay $600 for 1 hour. Which is absolutely ridiculous, right? And they were saying, just a side note, apparently if you're trying to get your private pilot in a Cirrus, like an SR-20 or an SR-22, it can cost upwards of $30,000-$40,000 for your private. And I'm like, normally it costs like half of that, so it just didn't make sense, just for a nicer plane anyways. But the point is, he starts at the bottom, so for me it's fuel selector, I make sure my flaps, make sure my mixture is all the way full, my power is set, lights are on, and, trim it out, right? So that's sort of the flow that I like to use, and it works really, really well. It's how I do pretty much all of my flows. My, before start, my starting engine checklist, my before landing flows, all that. It's just how I visualize the aircraft. Or you do normal 7, it doesn't really matter, right? I like to start at the bottom because it just gets it out of the way.
Power there. Tower, 465 Delta, midfield, left downwind, 417, touch goes.
Sure, 65 Delta, number 2, runway 17, touch go.
Number 2, 17, line, we'll look for traffic.
If you don't know, being number 2 means that there's another guy in front of you, means you're second in line to land. So the beautiful thing about having an instructor is that he will watch traffic for you. But if you're flying solo, I have to monitor. The reason why I keep looking at the MFD, the panel to the right, the multifunctional flight display, is to watch traffic, make sure I'm not colliding with anyone. There's a funny story, because on my solo practice flight, so the flight after this that I did solo, where I was trying to go to the west to do maneuvers, I was doing steep turns, and my Sentry, my ADS-B, flagged that there was traffic, same altitude, like right ahead or something. It turns out it was Ghost of the Sentry thing, and I literally lost it, and apparently a lot of people have ran into that. So point I'm trying to make here, focus on not only flying the airplane, but also focus on traffic as well.
I see him.
Do you want to full stop or touch and go?
Touch goes, 65 Delta, holding our airspeed. Let's see.
Marcus Tower, Skyhawk 7083, Quebec, on the outlet, runway 13. Landing for 7083, Quebec.
Beam, we'll pour carby, and
This is going to be just a...
So when I'm a beam the numbers, because because I'm in the downwind right now, I'm a beam the numbers. This is typically when I start my landing checklist. So, configuring for landing. What works for me is a 10, 20, 30. So when you're in the downwind, it's, make sure you're under 110, first notch of flaps, right? And then start your descent. And then when you're, 45 degrees from the numbers, that's when you turn into your base leg. Once you're in the base leg, flaps 20, under 85 knots. And then once you're in the final leg, it's typically third notch of flaps with 30 degrees, and I'm pitching for 65, which is the best approach speed, right? So it goes under 110, under 85, and then maintain 65 on final, right? If you're too slow, you're going to drop quicker. If you're too fast, the landing, from my experience, you're going to either stay in ground effect or you're going to bounce, right? So it's just 1, 2, and 3 is how I typically think about it, and that's how I learned how to configure for landing. But the only thing that matters is your airspeed. So just focus on your airspeed, right? And, you pitch up, nose up to bleed off of airspeed, and then, power for altitude. That's what works. Is pitch for airspeed, power for altitude. Power as in your throttle.
You're not giving us final instructions, no, sir. Trickle back, roger, on the go. Fly runway heading, maintain 3000. Runway 13, clear low pressure. Tower, Scout 9274, hotel going around. Runway heading to 3000 on the approach path, 708 respect.
Cool. Okay. Looks we're good. Let's split our base. Make sure we're going down, covering up the cold. Then clearance.
Leaving altitude.
Stop and go. 330, extend downwind, I'll call your base. Extend downwind, you'll call our base. 230.
Cool. Still recording. Well, second notch. Or too slow. I don't like how slow we are. Guard final. Oh, we're way too high.
The rule that I have, especially when I'm about to come into land, is I'd rather be too high than too low. That's just my thing. And for me, just to be safe, I'm monitoring the PEPI lights. I see 4 white, I think. So, 4 white means you're too high. 4 red means you're too low, and then 2 white and 2 red is you're perfectly on the glide slope. So for me, I, in this case, was a little too high. There's many things you can do. You just extend your, stay in ground effect, land at a later point. You can do a slip, but I'm not trying to do anything fancy on on my first solo. But later in the video, I'll talk about some things that I definitely would have done differently in the mishap that happened.
Tower, Scout 24, hotel, just checking. You clear for traffic?
We got a headwind. We are way too high. He looks good.
I don't even know if I deployed third notch of flaps, but we'll see.
Tower, Scout 9274, hotel, midfield, left downwind, runway 17. From hotel, extended downwind, your phone, Skyhawk, 2 miles heading in the downwind. Semi down. Just a 330, base approved, runway 17, clear, touch go.
Beautiful. Fucking go. Buttery touch.
Okay, the landing was good. It wasn't great. I think I've had definitely better landings. Landing for me was one of the hardest parts of flying, of learning to fly. One of the hardest skills, if you would, because the biggest mistake that I did is I always kept staring at the ground. So I would always pull back and just sit in ground effect, and I would never land. So I'd have to just keep manipulating it for it to drop. Another thing that I noticed is I would keep power in until I'm in ground effect. Some people like that, some people don't. It really depends on the weather conditions, but assuming good weather conditions, I typically, once I'm past the piano keys, as what I like to call them, at the end of the runway, I typically pull power, flare, and then just hold it, right? The mistake that I used to make is I would just pull back to where I'm almost tail striking. So you don't want to do that. And the final thing is, instead of looking down at the runway, look towards the end and simply just close it, right? So you just want to close it and gently, and with reps, you're going to get a feeling of how high you are, what's a good flare, when to add a bit of power, that way you don't slam into the ground, things like that. But this is simply my experience.
Let's go. Bit balloon, bit fast.
330, it's a quick one. I got a couple right behind you.
Engine instruments are green, and we're good.
I'll make it quick, 7830.
Fucking go. Positive rates. Let's fucking
Some
go.
hotel, you have the F9 turning base ahead of your side? Yep.
Oh, I was so confused. So it looks like he gave me right traffic this time.
Okay, so there's a guy that just landed. There's a guy 200 feet out.
Track 74 Hotel, right on 26.
Leaving altitude.
Charlie, Alpha, Park, Monogram. That's 74, that's 1. Disregard, sorry about that.
Tower 65 Delta, traffic sign.
65 Delta, number 2, behind that traffic runway, 17, clear, touch.
Number 2, 17, clear touch and goes, 65 Delta. I see him. He is right out there. I don't know if you can see. Oh shit, I am too high.
The thing I love about controlled airports is that you have a controller that's doing a lot of the traffic work for you. But if you're on a uncontrolled field, for example, if we go east, it's Lockhart Municipal. I mean, sometimes you go flying and there's 8 planes in a pattern, and it's just an absolute mess. There's one dude that doesn't have a radio or transponder. He'll just like fly midfield and just cut somebody off on the upwind. It is an absolute mess. So flying on a flying out on a controlled airport is a lot better.
Okay, rather be too high, too low. So it's taking me there like they're creeping in the runway, which I don't like. So 110 for Osh, car B.
San Marcos Tower, 509 for Romeo, control 17.
We're still coming down.
Track 509 for Romeo, San Marcos
You're
Tower.
gonna be way too high. But that's okay. That's rather be too high, too low. Where are you setting? Awesome. Build is inside, there's a runway. And on flaps. RB is bold. Looking for 5. Look at the power. I see runways out there. I don't know. That our second one? I think, yeah, I think that was
51 back to Mark ground. Gonna be changing runways here momentarily. Runway 8, taxi to Charlie up.
Oh, let's fix that. Okay. Where's me?
Leaving
Hotel,
altitude.
right on 26, cross 13, Bravo, Alpha, Park, Monogram. On 26, cross runway 13, Bravo, Alpha, Park. Track 94, Romeo, runway 17, take off on course. 94, Romeo, please take off 17 on course.
Cool, there's our runway inside. Target, one check please.
1008.
100 at 8, okay, so we're gonna switch to the runway. That's recording, GoPro, mic recording, fucking knows. Cool, lights, flaps, I am around.
The reason why I asked for a wind check from the tower is because I heard him say that, I heard him tell another plane that they were changing runways. So I was curious how, not bad, but how different the wind is, which is why I got a wind check. That way I know how to position my approach.
The power, that way I have to make a block runway. Then 100, we're gonna cross it.
Tower, Tower 7230, minted left downwind, runway 17, request for set to go. Track 330, number 2, runway 17, touch and go. Touch and go, runway 17, number 2, 7220.
Or the shit, come on, another buttery one. Well, 2 whites are a little high, but again, that's better. Your speed's a little fast with color power. RV has gold, lights are good, left now. There we go. There's speed looks good. We're past the canopy. Looking for a target. I see the end of the runway. For ground effect, power idle. There's our ground effect, power idle. Oh, come on. Come on. That's not bad. RV up. Flaps in. Cool. And there's these live rotating. On the brake.
Skyhawk 65 Delta, when able, make a right turn, and then report right base for runway 8. Runway 8 down, yes.
Okay, we'll join the pattern for a right.
This is where things get very scary for me because I am still obviously learning. I know the patterns and where things are, but I really have to draw it out as opposed to just visually, mapping it out on the looking at ground reference. So to give you context, here's what happened. This is the airport. This is San Marcos Regional Airport, KHYI, as you can see right here. So this is the original runway we've been taking. We've been taking runway 17. We'd either make left closed, and then in our most recent one, we made right closed, right? But what he did here is he made me switch runways. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, do I fly out, join the downwind, and then I turn into runway 8, and you're going to see exactly what happened and where I messed up. So this is just a quick reference as to what's happening. That way you guys can visually see it.
Tower 65 Delta, right base, runway 8. Touch and go, please.
Runway 8.
So here's the challenge. Here's the problem, and this is where things start to go a little wonky, right? As you can see here, I'm currently in the base leg. So if you look at the blue line, look at the blue. Try not to look at the purple. If you look at the blue line, I'm currently like right here, right? So I'm not 45 degrees from the numbers. I should have gone out a lot further before I turned my base. So I should have gone and turned right here. And you are going to see exactly what happened.
Clear touch and go, then left traffic.
Clear touch and go, left traffic, 65 Delta.
Leaving altitude.
I am going around. Tower 65 Delta.
Yeah, so here's exactly what happened. If you look to the right, that's where runway 8 is. I clearly overshot it, or undershot it in this case. And I tell them I'm going around, right? And in flying terms, when you're going around, you're typically overflying the runway and then extending your upwind. But what do I do instead? My decision-making process here is that I overshot it, so I'm definitely not going to make the runway, and I'm in a downwind to base or base to final lag, and my speed is low. So I don't want to bank too much and stall. That was my biggest fear. So I'm like, hey, I'm going around, this approach is not stable, and my instructor always told me, if you feel like your approach is unstable, always go around. So for me here, I tell them I'm going to go around, but you're going to see exactly what happened instead of me going around the right way.
What's going on? What's going on?
As you can see, I extended my base, not going around. So this is where like the confusion between the controller and I was getting confused, and I was getting a little worried here. So basically, if you go over the iPad again, I'm basically flying this route right here. So I'm flying out. I'm just flying over. I'm just cutting everybody off on final, basically, if they were to come into the other runways.
Join the base power again.
Tower, Takeoff, 7220, midfield, left downwind, runway 8. Midfield, right downwind, runway 8, 7830. Sky 330, runway 8, clear touch and go. Runway 8, clear touch and go, 7830.
Leaving altitude.
Yeah, 65 Delta, if you want to continue just make a right turn back to the downwind for runway 8.
Sounds good. We'll do that, 65 Delta. Right turn.
We're just stay on the north side of runway 8 there for the left downwind for 8.
Left downwind 4, runway 8, 65 Delta. Runway, oh shit, I don't know.
So one thing I like to do here is I like to draw everything out. That way I'm never confused, because sometimes right and left and right, right pattern, left pattern, I get a little confused sometimes. So I like to draw everything out and make sure I'm like, okay, this is actually the left downwind as opposed to the right downwind. So, yeah.
San Marcos Tower, Sky 7230, we apologize. We'd like you to do a full stop terminate, please. Runway 8, good one. Runway 8, clear to land, 7230.
Approaching altitude.
So basically right now I am parallel. So I'm basically in the right downwind, the right downwind for runway, was it like 36 or 35? So we were using 17 and now I'm in the right downwind for, for 35. So I'm just all over the place.
180. Do 180.
So here, when I said I'm going to do a 180, what I am doing is I'm basically, if you look at the iPad, this is where I'm currently at right now. I am basically a beam runway 17, and we have to go the other way, right? So it's like, notice how like there's all these drawings. I'm literally all over the place. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just do a 180? So just like a 180 turn to go back into the runway.
65 Delta, from your current position there, I'd like you to make a right turn. I want you in the left downwind for runway 8.
So we'll do 180. 65 Delta?
So he obviously I'm in the wrong position, and he called me out. The issue here is that he said to make a right turn into the runway to rejoin the pattern. From all the lessons with my instructor, you should never turn into the runway. You should always turn out of the runway. So instead of a right turn, I should have made a left turn. And I spoke with my instructor after that, and he said as well that it was his mistake. I don't know. If you're an air traffic controller, please let me know.
Well, if you want, just you need to make a left turn back to the left downwind for runway 8.
So basically, I'm right here right now. I'm trying to go, like, this is the route that I need to go, right? So that's this line right here. So this one, this one, this one, this one.
65 Delta, if you come out of your left turn there, that should put you right to the left downwind for runway 8. Left downwind.
Sounds good. 65 Delta.
Sorry for the confusion here. We'll get you straight down.
Sounds good. Thank you. Can we make this a full stop too, please?
Roger. And Marcus Tower, 610 Quebec is showing 8, ready for departure to the east. 610 Quebec, Marcus Tower.
At this current stage, I'm stressed out. My heart's beating out of my chest, and I just want to get on the ground, right? Like, I will just do anything to get back on the ground.
10 Quebec, home shore. Roger.
6. Okay. That's the runway. Holy shit, I got lost for a second. That was so scary. Depot feels like their flaps are up.
Leaving altitude.
330 Bravo, Alpha Park, monitor ground. Alpha Park, monitor ground. 22 next.
Tower 65 Delta, midfield, left downwind for runway 8. Full stop.
Track 65 Delta, runway 8, clear line.
Runway 8, clear to land, 65 Delta.
Track 10 Quebec, runway 8, take off on course.
Okay, site, runway 10 first. Birds. Oh my god, fucking throw me, switching runways and shit. Holy shit. Okay, cool, so. Okay, cool, that's not right on this. Sure, we're still coming down, watch our speed.
The biggest thing I learned here is when you're in the stage, they have that saying, aviate, navigate, communicate. So focus on flying the plane first, then figure out where you are, and then talk to people. But I'm trying to do everything at once. I'm trying to fly the plane, look at my forward flight and see where I am, so that way I could be set up properly while communicating with tower.
Like a notch flaps, make sure we're looking down. Full car beat. Lights are on, landing checklist is complete. Error base final. We were too high, so nose down.
Traffic.
Traffic, not on scene. Full notch, full flaps. Zero lines. Airspeed looks good, flaps are down. Okay, this should be a good one. Oh fuck. That was not good landing.
Yes, that was a very, very bad landing. This is probably one of the worst landings I've ever done. In a normal situation, I should have gone around as soon as that thing started bouncing. And I knew that. I was just so stressed. I'm just like, just get this plane on the ground and, you know, aerodynamic braking and just taxi back. I was just so done and so stressed.
65 Delta, disabled, Bravo, Alpha Park, monitor ground.
Bravo, Alpha Park, 65 Delta. Holy fuck, that was terrible. Okay, Bravo, and then Alpha Park. is like right. Holy shit. Okay.
Good thing the mic came unstuck there right at the end. 10 Quebec,
Flaps are up, car heat is in, make sure lights, taxi, we'll leave it on, POV is off. Okay, cool. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Alpha Park. Sorry, Delta, just want to say thank you for helping me out there. It was getting a lot.
I think during this time when I did my flight, there was like a government shutdown or something, and the towers or the controls were not getting paid. So I figured just say thank you because this was very scary.
Yeah, not a problem. I knew you were up. I didn't really want to change runways, but the wind was kind of picking up there for a little bit. But yeah, good job figuring it out.
All good, thank you, sir. We'll monitor ground.
I'm glad your bike was stuck there as you were pulling off the runway, so I'm glad it came unstuck.
No, you're good. So yeah, I just appreciate it. Switching runways, I was getting confused for a second. I'm like, okay, let me fly the plane and then I'll figure this out.
Yeah, not a problem. Don't worry about it. You're fine.
Thank you. Have a night. Oh, okay. Right here. Great. Okay, cool. After landing, flaps are up, carb heat is in, oh, whoops, here. Transponders VFR, throttle idle, avionics master off. I'll leave that on, actually. Make sure that'll cut off magnetos.
Oil pressure. Meth.
Magnetos are set off. All the equipment is on. Oh. Holy shit!
You survived.
Were you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a recap of my solo flight. It was a massive learning moment. I mean, there's so many things I could have done on that second run halfway through. I could have done a slip. I could have just increased our airspeed or excuse me, increase the power and just overfly the runway. That way I don't just stall. I could have done a steep turn basically from base to final. That way I overfly the runway and just rejoin and just set up and then recompose, as opposed to just flying out and circling back and doing all this mess. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something from it. It's a memorable moment. At least now I get to treat it as a story and tell people. But yeah, with that said, my name is Ben, and my goal is to get my privates, get my instrument rating here in 2026, and my goal is to buy a jet one day. So I'm creating this channel as a way of documenting my entire flight journey, the good, the bad, everything in between. And if you guys want to stay along for the ride or the flight, if you would, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you are a pilot yourself, please let me know what you would have done, right? What I could have done better. Because at the end of the day, I believe that as a pilot, there's no quote unquote perfect pilot. It's a never ending game of just becoming better in all aspects, in the ground, in the flight, in navigation, weather, all that stuff. So, and if you're an air traffic controller, please tell me if he was the one that was in the wrong, because or he was right and I was wrong, as clearly I was. Because I thought that you never turn into the runway because maybe there would be traffic on the upwind, or if I was right where I turned out of the runway, making that left turn, left 180. So again, if you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to like, comment, as well as subscribe. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.